Hello friends, welcome back to Tamara's garden. Today I will be sharing with you some of the plants that loves the shade, partial sunlight or the medium sunlight to grow. So what are the indoor plants or outdoor plants that you can keep in the shady area? So the first plant that loves the shady or the partial sunlight is these beautiful Syngonium plants. Syngonium plants I have brought from a nursery and they are in a large pot, and also I have from stem cuttings I have multiplied them in many a times. So this is a beautiful leafy plant which you can grow in the partial or the shady sunlight. So if it gets too much of bright sunlight, these leaves turns yellow and brown. So this is an indication it's getting bright sunlight. Shade loving plants. So when talking about shade loving plants, money pothos plant also need shade, because if you keep it in a place where it gets a bright sunlight, their leaves will turn yellow and brown. So money pothos plant is a plant that really do loves the shade. Prayer plant also prefers a semi-shade to grow. They doesn't like the bright direct sunlight. So keep this plant outdoors in a place where it gets the filtered sunlight. So this is one of the best indoor plants which grows really well. But if you keep it outdoors, see that it gets the partial to shady sunlight. Spider plant. This is another beautiful indoor plant which you can grow outdoors as well, but keeping it in an area where it gets a bright sunlight will burn the leaves and you will see brown tips and also browning of leaves. So this is, and also these leaves get smaller and not thicker, so that you will know that this plant also not suitable for the bright direct sunlight. So look at this plant in an indirect shady area. Pothos is another plant which prefers the partial or the shady sunlight. Do not locate it in an area where it gets the bright sunlight, because these plants also doesn't prefer much sunlight. So they will grow really very fast in the shaded or partial sunlight. So if you see any brown leaves or getting burnt leaves, so that means this plant is under stress. They doesn't need much of sunlight. So sunlight requirement for these plants also the semi-shade. So keep it in area where it gets the filtered sunlight. Best indoors. Lucky bamboo, one of the best feng shui plants, one of the best indoor plant and one of the lucky plants. This plant also prefers the semi-shade. This plant doesn't grow in the hot bright sunlight. So if your plant is facing too much of hot bright sunlight, if the location is wrong, these tips and the plant leaves will turn yellow. This is also, say, being one of the indoor plants, you will have to keep it in a location where it gets the filtered sunlight. So the sunlight requirements for these plant are low light or very partial sunlight. So this is another beautiful indoor plant you can grow in partial sunlight. I have multiplied them easily with stems. So being a kind of Dracaena family, this plant grows really well and thicker and bushier. Aloe vera belongs to the succulent family, and this is also recommended as an indoor plant, but make sure this plant doesn't get too much of bright sunlight, because these leaves are so thick and also the stems are so bushy and thicker if you keep it in a location where it gets some medium to bright sunlight. This plant doesn't like the hot bright sunlight too, so you can grow them indoors. Their leaves will turn so green and healthy. So this plant also another plant which you can grow easily indoors as an indoor plant with the semi-shade area, or even in the low light this plant will grow green and beautifully. Peace lily plant you can grow indoors and outdoors both, but if you keep it in a place where it gets maximum bright sunlight, the leaves of this plant will get burnt. So locate it in an area where it gets the filtered sunlight. This plant also you can multiply easily by bulbs. So this is the flower of this plant, and this also loves the semi-shade. Such a beautiful and wonderful indoor plant to grow. So here you are the bloomings of this peace lily plant.